Our top story today, in the latest development, Iran launched dozens of ballistic missiles into Israel earlier today, prompting sirens in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Multiple explosions rocked major cities, with at least 4 impact sites confirmed. Israel's emergency services say 32 people were injured, 2 seriously in blasts near hospitals and civilian areas. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accused Israel's terrorist Tyrants of attacking Soroka Hospital in Beersheba and vowed to exact the full price. Overnight, Israel retaliated with strikes on sites in Iran's Natanz region and Arc, including what it called an inactive nuclear reactor. The Israeli army confirmed strikes near missile storage facilities in western Iran. Earlier, police officers were injured after strikes near Iran's National Police headquarters. Israel also struck an area near the Red Crescent's building in the Iranian capital. Iran responded by firing hypersonic missiles at Israel and issued an evacuation alert for the Israeli city of Haifa, warning of further retaliation. Meanwhile, Tehran has imposed stricter internet controls, accusing Israel of using cyberspace for military operations. Iran also claims Israel briefly hacked state television, urging public unrest. The Israeli military confirmed more missiles have been fired from Iran towards Israel as defensive systems remain active. The situation remains extremely volatile as both nations continue to trade strikes. We're now joined by Peter Baum, who is the foreign editor of the Weekly Blitz. Thank you very much, Peter, for joining us. He joins us live from London.
Good morning, sir.
Peter, this conflict is escalating every single day. Strikes are being traded back and forth by the hour, it seems. We've now got news that Iran has struck civilian infrastructure, including a hospital. What are your initial reactions to these fresh strikes that have penetrated the Iron Dome of Israel? Seemingly no fatalities yet, but could I just get your initial reaction to that, please?
Yes, indeed, sir. And for you and for your viewers and listeners, I've literally just come offline with colleagues in both Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. So as far as we're concerned, this is the most up-to-date update, if you like, that any news channel could have. As we stand at the moment, the Israeli army have allowed all Israeli citizens to leave their bomb shelters. There were about 45 ballistic missiles overnight from Iran into Israel. The ones that got through, and there were about 3 that got through, so a huge percentage still deterred, were all at civilian areas, and one, as you quite rightly say, was at a hospital, where as far as we know to date, an 80-year-old man has been critically injured. There have been about 30 casualties, and some people still trapped in a lift as we speak. It seems, from a daily basis, although you suggested that the war is escalating, from Iran's point of view, unless they have something further up their sleeve, their daily barrage of numbers of ballistic missiles fired is on a downward trajectory. If you pardon the pun, no pun intended there. The number of missiles launched from Iran is decreasing day by day, and this can only be as a direct result of Israel's continuous pounding of weapons launching sites and other military targets. Now, unless there's something that we don't know, that none of us know, whether Iran has something more to give in this conflict, then it would clearly seem to an impartial observer that Israel is definitely gaining the upper hand. The other thing that we do know that has severely dented the Iranian regime over the last couple of days has been a rather successful attack on the technical abilities, the internet of Iran. Banks have been hacked, and one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges from which the Iranian regime funds itself and its proxies, has also been severely hurt. Apparently, tens of millions of dollars gone astray. So that's been another success. Now, the big factor here, as we all know, is how long will Donald Trump sway his hand? Will he and the Americans go in and help the Israelis? Will there be sufficient pressure domestically on him to stop? But it's clear that the Israeli public, as we see at the moment, are united around Netanyahu, whereas that may not be the case with the Iranian public, who are, as we still see, are leaving Iran in droves.
Yes, Peter, what's been your thoughts of the actions and the communication by the US president? He's obviously been vocal and kind of mulling around the question of being involved, but what might be the result of a possible, let's put forward the situation both sides. Let's say the Americans do get involved. What are the possible outcomes? And vice versa, what are the possible outcomes if they don't? We obviously know that the Americans are the only ones that have the capability to strike those Iranian nuclear facilities deep in the ground. What are your thoughts?
Great question. It seems at the moment, again, these are from sources from the US overnight that I've been speaking to, that there is a core of opinion, I would say, on the extreme right of American politics, who have been totally supportive of Donald Trump to date, do not want him to get involved in the war in Iran in much the same way as they don't want him to get involved in the war in Ukraine. If he does make the decision to use what the Israelis want him to use, those bunker-busting bombs, the only ones capable of severely denting the nuclear capabilities, he will have a problem with the extreme right in America, especially if it's a war that doesn't end quickly. So I think at the moment, Trump is giving Netanyahu the ability to effect and impose a regime change. We'll have to see how long the Israelis can play in the game, because don't forget, they must be under pressure too, or will be under pressure too domestically, if these Iranian missiles still continue to get through, which they will surely do. And they also may have a problem with the supply chain of their own weapons infrastructure. So I would say the next 72 hours are absolutely crucial into what happens geopolitically on a global stage. Will Donald Trump get involved? I think he would rather not, but he may have to.
Peter, and finally, I just want to ask you, you've mentioned that you've been speaking to people over in the conflict zones. What's the feeling in Israel? Is it fear? Is it frustration? Is it determination? How are people feeling in these affected areas, which obviously missiles getting through is a rarity with Israel's Iron Dome system. So how are the people of Israel feeling with this fresh conflict on their hands?
So I must say, you have a rare knack for really hitting the button. Fear, frustration, determination, your three words. And I can only say to you and everyone listening to this interview, from my very recent conversations with people in the conflict zones, it's a total combination of all three. Fear for sure, because of the ballistic missiles that are penetrating. Frustration, because they want to see this conflict with Iran and her proxies ended as soon as possible. And determination, because they understand that for the Israelis, this is an existential threat which only Iran and her proxies have posed. Militarily, they've been successful to date, but whether they continue to gain the upper hand militarily, as I said to you, will only be known within the next 72 hours.
I'm sorry, finally, one more question. We briefly touched on it previously, but how important has information warfare been in this? We've had reports of Israel hacking state television. We've also claims that Iran also claims that it's briefly hack the cyberspace. What has been going on in regards to that? I feel like people don't know as much in what's going on in that realm.
Yeah, all I can say on this one is, for those of us that are looking at social media, we've got to take everything emanating from certain interested parties with a pinch of salt, and only analyse what's really been going on after the event, when true information comes through. Now, what I can say, it's playing a very important part in this conflict. To date, the Iranians, as far as I know, have had absolutely no success with their efforts in the world of cyberspace or cryptocurrencies or hacking into Israeli internet. Whereas the Israelis, it seems, have had quite a bit of success. But again, we can only analyse that fully in the hours after we're first told of what's happened. But at the moment, it would seem Israel is definitely gaining the upper hand in that part of the conflict.
Peter?
Sorry, the Israelis are gaining the upper hand in that part of the conflict.
Yes, and finally, with both nations still firing and civilian impacts increasing on both sides, what do you see as credible steps on either side, if any, to stop this spiral? And who do you think might mediate? There's been talks of certain actors mediating. What are your thoughts on how this, if there is a path to de-escalation?
Again, great question. And one of my conversations last night was with a fairly senior Israeli diplomat. He believes that the Iranian regime know that this could be a complete game changer for them, and that they are making efforts through actually Vladimir Putin, of all people, to try and get some kind of negotiations together. And Putin is very willing, for his own global profile, to play in that mediating role. So as far as we know, Putin is in touch with Trump on behalf of the Iranians in an effort to get them, to get the Israelis to the table. Whereas the Israelis, for their part, would be interested, but on that they have a caveat, and that is every hostage currently held by Hamas, because Gaza has seemed to be forgotten in the last few days, that every hostage held by Hamas is released, all bodies of dead hostages are released, and only on that basis will Israel decide that there will be a place for negotiations.
Peter Bourne, pleasure having you on the programme. We now have some breaking news coming in. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister, Garab Abadi, has warned that Tehran's military decision makers have, quote, all necessary options on the table amid rising tensions, while stressing that Iran has never welcomed war or sought to expand any conflict. He cautioned Washington against intervening in support of Israel, advising the US to stay out if it cannot stop Israeli aggression. The diplomat added that if the US chooses to back Israel actively, Iran will be forced to defend itself and, quote, teach aggressors a lesson.